Honkai Star Rail 2.5 looks stacked, and it can be hard to decide who to spend your Stellar Jades on this time around. So today, I thought it'd be useful to talk about each character and their value to help you better understand who'll provide you the most bang for your special passes. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. We'll start off with Feixiao, since she's going to be the newest character coming out in the first half of 2.5. Single Target Queen. She is going to be the premium character for Apocalyptic Shadow, while still having a really solid performance in MOC. Feixiao is also going to be a great DPS pickup if you're into all things follow-up attack. Have an Aventurine, Robin, and Topaz on hand, or perhaps even a well-built Hunt 7th, then you'll do just fine with Feixiao. She's going to be a real Hunt behemoth, and I actually believe that Feixiao is going to be quite the accessible unit. You aren't going to need her light cone if you want to see good performance out of her, since I'd ask you to consider swordplay, seeing how her burst is literally a single target locked as it gets. Not to mention how you can always dust off your old cruising in the Stellar Sea, because let's be realistic, Feixiao's putting your doctor ratio into retirement. She's gonna have Moze on her banner as well, who is a very good Topaz replacement to build up stacks for her. And you can even consider a full 4-star Feixiao team of a lady herself, Hunt 7th, Moze, and any sustain. You'll certainly feel her presence no matter what investment level you're at. I'd say that the main against pulling points that you should consider for this beautiful Foxian warrior is the fact that her competition is really dense, with Robin being paired alongside her. Might I remind you that Feixiao is a DPS character, and Honkai Star Rail's power creep is very unfriendly. Going for supports is almost always a safer bet, because they don't get thrown out nearly as fast as DPSs do. Shoot, Doctor Ratio only had his time for maybe half a year, and in my opinion, a unit should last at least a year before power creep, but that's just my take. So if you don't have a copy of Robin yet, then it's harder to recommend Feixiao, both because she's her main premium support and because Robin is guaranteed to offer you a much longer return on investment. However, Ruan-Mei will work with Feixiao as well, and I've already discussed her potential free-to-play team, so if you really want to murder your enemies in a massive storm, then go for it. Apocalyptic Shadow is also Honkai Star Rail's hardest endgame mode in my opinion, so it can never hurt to pull for a character who is very AS-centric, while still having huge potential in MOC. I'd say that Robin is the most valuable pull that you could make this entire patch. She is indeed really good for follow-up attack units, being best in slot and Feixiao teams, but that doesn't mean she's only limited to these teams. Anywhere where Ruan-Mei works, Robin can work too, because while the buffs she provides are different, they are both high quality and universal enough to justify using her. Literally any archetype can take advantage of Robin. Hyper carries, dual carries, DOT teams, follow-up attacks especially. The only time where you don't really want to use Robin is with E0 Acheron or in Firefly break teams, where Ruan-Mei is infinitely better, but she still works in 80% of the teams in this game to great effect, and that's something seriously worth considering, not to mention her incredible free-to-play friendliness. While her vertical investments such as Robin Z1 are indeed quite nice, anybody can pull for one copy of Robin and enjoy her right out of the box at E0 as 0. You get incredibly good value for your Jades, which is super important in this day and age of constant power creep. I can't think of any real negative points as to why you shouldn't pull for Robin. She is a perfect unit. Literally in the top 3 most meta units ever since her release in my opinion, and the main thing keeping Ruan-Mei on top as number 1 in my opinion is Firefly Super Break. Even then, you can very easily make the argument that Robin is the best character. With that being said, 11 out of 10. Easily the character that I recommend the most out of everybody coming in this patch. Beneath the waters lies an endless abyss. Dare I say that the Arcana is the means by which all is revealed. Funnily enough, I'm a Kafka main, and by extension, a Black Swan main, since it's a dual carry team. So as you can imagine, I'm going to shill her now because holy heck does she make DOT feel crazy. As an esteemed DOT main, I humbly recommend that you look up Black Swan gameplay in Pure Fiction. If you're somebody who is really struggling to clear in the game mode, then let's just say that Black Swan does a little trolling in Pure Fiction. Seriously, she is absurdly good there. Even in MOC, I find that she performs absolutely spiffingly. Even at lower investments, you'll find yourself absolutely cooking the mode. AS isn't her main strength, but if played with Acheron, I do believe she'll be fine there as well. Speaking of which, Black Swan isn't limited to DOT only. You can use her with Acheron and help her gain extra ult stacks by using her on Kafka's light cone. Plus, if you have E1 Black Swan, then you can actually use her with that same light cone to act as a debuffer for Acheron's team on the whole. So yes, the insane couple work very well together. I myself am quite partial to Kaf Swankaron, as it frees up my Ruan-Mei for Firefly Super Break on the other half. It's amazing across all 3 game modes, though it has major skill point issues, so you're oftentimes going to have to Acheron Basic, but that's okay because of how many stacks the other nihilities are giving you. You're also going to want to use Locha. I will say that Ho-Ho works here, but only at E1. E0 Ho-Ho bricks this team's skill point economy too much. Obviously, she'll send Kafka mains into pure joy because of how well she works with her. If you like Kafka, I absolutely urge you to pull for Black Swan. The thing is, Kafka is like a driver, sort of like Child in Genshin Impact. Remove Xiangling and suddenly his team doesn't really work anymore. It's the same with Kafka. Black Swan is her Xiangling equivalent. No, you cannot escape the Xiangling mindset even across games. For simps who want Black Swan on her own but don't have Kafka or can't get her because she's running at the same time as Black Swan, yes, she can work on her own. However, without Kafka, she feels a lot more pure fiction locked and then requires sample E4 in order to cook. Otherwise, you can pull her at E1 as an Acheron support as I've already covered. Black Swan's vertical investment is also nothing to scoff at. My own Swan is E1S1 and she's an absolute beast. Pure fiction is a joke. I clear every MOC's DOT half in like one cycle, and AS is also winnable for me. Both for E1 and S1 are roughly 25% increases to Black Swan's own performance, so while her E0 form is brilliant, there is most definitely room for improvement for those of you who are interested. No, this does not invalidate a free-to-play Black Swan, as she's still great on an S5 Eyes of Prey. This is more for those of you who already have a copy and were thinking of vertically investing into her, or for those of you who are simply curious about Black Swan's maximum potential with some low-spender tier investment. I'd say that Black Swan's biggest flaw is simply how she's kind of annoying to build. 155 speed while reaching enough EHR is a pretty steep requirement, I won't lie, and she is the hardest to build out of every DOT character because of the large amount of EHR and speed she wants. Kafka wants as much speed as possible too, but Black Swan's exact 155 requirement really puts a downer on farming for her. So be aware that you're gonna have to put some effort into your Black Swan if you want her to perform well. That, and the fact that while she does have a good 4-star light cone option with Eyes of Prey, it's either Eyes of Prey or nothing. Obviously she has other budget picks, but nothing matches up to this specific one, unfortunately. I'm gonna flex my own Black Swan build, which is really good because I use an attack body while still having all the EHR I need, but I want to upgrade her to Glomoff one day with that same setup. That'd be nutty. I know, nobody asked. I wanted to show it anyway. Time to say hi. Pull. Kafka is easily one of my favorite characters in all of Honkai Star Rail. Yeah, nobody asked, but she is my favorite trailer in all of Hoyoverse, and it is my honor to present you with my reasons as to why you should and should not pull Kafka. I've been an E0S1 main with intent to collect Eidolons over time, ever since day one of her release, and I do not intend to stop maining her anytime soon. Reasons 4 are pretty simple. Easy to build, as you only want speed and attack percent, so if you self-model for an electric orb and you don't get crit, then you're fine, she doesn't want crit. Self-modeling specific relics is generally always safer for DOT and break characters that don't want crit at all. She's a goddess in PF, especially when paired with Black Swan, and is an insane driver for any DOT unit. She's naturally going to have a very long shelf life because Kafka detonates DOTs, so even if Black Swan were to get replaced someday, or if another DOT party member joined the fray, then Kafka would still be relevant as she would do the job of speeding up the DOT output of said units. Her burst is an absolute nuke with Black Swan around, dude. I found her to work sublimely in every game mode, therefore making Kafka a very flexible pull. She's also very free-to-play friendly, as her Lycone can be replaced by an S5 Good Night Sleep Well and perform pretty closely to it. Though Patience is All You Need is really good for other reasons too, like being used on Acheron if you don't have Raiden number 3's own signature cone because of the extra ult stacks it provides her, and the Black Swan use case that I mentioned earlier. It's a pretty neat cone to consider. Reasons against? Dude, Kafka does 0 DPS if you're not going to play her with Black Swan. Okay, that's exaggerating a bit, but you get the point. Take it from somebody who mained Kafka from day one of her release up until now. I mained her even when she sucked. And the reason as to why she sucked? She had no powerful unit to drive. You can at least make an argument for pulling Black Swan on her own because of Acheron teams or using her in PF with E4 Sampo, but I literally see 0 incentive to pull for the dark pink woman without owning the light purple woman first. Unless you're some really hardcore Gwenathan main, I don't know. Gwenathan mentioned, like and subscribe. Her power level genuinely is tied to Black Swan, or however strong your other DOT units are, so if you don't have a good DOT DPS for her to drive, then she's gonna have a much harder time clearing. The difference is genuinely night and day when it comes to having and not having a Black Swan on your Kafka team. Like I said earlier, child without Xiangling isn't child anymore, he becomes baby. Other than that, if you have Black Swan, then she's an incredibly safe, future-proof pull, thanks to her nature as a driver. Her E2 is also very nice for vertical investment into DOT teams of any kind, because like I said earlier, even if Black Swan were to get replaced tomorrow, this would still buff all of her DOT units. Free-to-play friendly, a great driver for all things DOT, would recommend. Plus, she's got one of the best designs ever, and once I read this comment under some random video that Kafka sounds like a chain smoker in English, and I thought that was kind of funny. Anyways. I'll briefly cover Moze, mostly just because I think he's pretty cool. His main gimmick is applying a mark to enemies, which counts as a debuff, and then doing a lot of follow-up attacks, especially when paired with other follow-up attack units. He's a follow-up attack unit, he will benefit from all the follow-up attack stuff as you'd imagine. Him applying a debuff makes him a viable replacement for Topaz and Dr. Ratio teams, but let's be real here. Ratio is not who we're all thinking of when it comes to Moze. Feixiao, baby! That's right, Moze is going to be on Feixiao's banner for a reason. He's going to help Feixiao build up a ton of ultimate stacks and be a very solid teammate for if you don't have a Topaz at your disposal. He won't have the personal damage of Hunt 7th in my opinion, as their enhanced basic is pretty meaty, but I imagine that Moze will generate Feixiao's ult stacks faster. We'll have to wait until testing on that is done though. He'll be a pretty great Feixiao unit. I'd say that if you have Topaz already, then there's no real reason to pick him over her if I'm being honest, especially because an E0 Topaz goes a much longer way than an E0 Moze, as you'd have to be pretty lucky to get him to E6 if you're only pulling for one copy of Feixiao. The debate is more interesting between Moze and Hunt 7th, but if I'm being entirely honest, Hunt 7th's Eidolons are free and the rest of them are most likely going to come soon, so the same argument still applies here. Regardless, if there's one thing he definitely has over the other two, it's his coolness factor. An assassin is awesome, and his animations go hard for a 4-star. Heck yeah. There is plenty of great choices to pull for in Honkai Star Rail 2.5. Please don't feel too pressured because at the end of the day, every unit that Honkai Star Rail sells is capable of clearing endgame content with enough investment. That being said, you also can't really make any mistakes this time around because 2.5's first half goes extraordinarily hard with units that you genuinely cannot go wrong with. Hopefully this video was able to tell you who'd get you the best bang for your Stellar Jades in Honkai Star Rail version 2.5. This has been Juice, signing out, and true goats will pull for Black Swan because she's a Persona 3 reference. The Arcana is the means by which all is revealed.